afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Spotlight on History. I'm Mary Helen Dellinger, curator of the Manassas Museum. So I'm going to ask you guys to guess where I might be. Got some hints here in the background. This is a city-owned facility that's located adjacent to the Cannon Branch Earthwork Fort, and it's home to 400 aircraft. So there's your hints. I might have made that a bit too easy for everybody out there in Facebook land. Yes, this is the Manassas Regional Airport. So you might wonder why I'm standing outside of a modern-day airport terminal to talk about history. But I don't want to talk about the terminal today, but more about the history of the airport itself, because it's really kind of a fascinating story that I wanted to share with everybody. So the first airport, or I should probably say the first airstrip, opened in Manassas on June 8, 1932, and it sat on 95 acres of privately owned land adjacent to Sudley Road. So the city leased the property for use as an airport before buying it outright in 1945. So here's a picture of where this first airport was located. I'm going to step up close to the camera so we can zoom in on that. So that's what it looked like. And it was situated on on land that today is the Manassas Shopping Center. So that's the airfield then in the 1950s. This is a picture of the Airfield Today circled in red. You can kind of see all the development there. So the next time you're out there shopping, remember that you're standing on what used to be an airfield. Most people don't know that, but that's where the planes used to take off and land. Now, we have a lot of cool photos in our collection that deal with the history of the airport, and I'm going to share some of them with you today, as well as one object from the collection. But the first one that I want to show now is this aerial shot of the airfield, the airport, and it shows a maintenance hangar. And that's 3 small airplanes sitting outside. So check that out. There's nothing in that image except for the hangar and the planes and the road there. Think how rural that area is. Nothing in the image. So that's kind of a neat one. The second image I have just shows a plane sitting at the airport. So this is typical of the planes that you would have seen taking off and landing here. Anybody ever ridden in one of those? They're kind of neat. Fun to ride in, really noisy. So that's all the types of planes that you would have seen. The third image is this kind of fun thing. This shows a local gentleman that was giving rides for $1 at the local airport. So you could ride in the airplane that I just showed you for a whole $1. That's equivalent to $20 in today's money. So that's a lot of money. 20 bucks for an airplane ride. I don't know what kind of ride you would have gotten. Might have been a neat experience. And this is a fun picture in our collection that deals with the airport. This shows the first time that airmail was being taken off by plane from the Manassas Airport. And so there's the airmail bag right in the center. And so this is our first local airmail flight, and that was a quicker way to get mail out of the city than any other way. Sometimes it would go by train or by overland vehicle, but this is the first time for airmail. So those are some really fun pictures in our collection that talk about the airport. So all of those, again, were taken in 1936 or 1938, and you can kind of see from the background of those how rural this area was. And when you compare that to the Manassas Shopping Center image that I showed you, you can see how much we've been built up in just the last 90 years. So our collection also has a really neat airplane-related piece that I've got right here in my pocket. It doesn't tie directly to the airport, but I wanted to share it with you. This is an Aircraft Warning Service observer button. And that's the AWS. It's a nice button. It's in mint condition. So this was a civilian service of the United States Army Ground Observer Corps during World War II. And the job of the people in this civilian service was to keep a watch out for enemy planes that might enter American airspace. That might sound ridiculous to people now, but back then that was a real concern, that the Germans or even the Japanese could get a plane over the United States and over this area and do a lot of damage. We also have a neat document about that. If you want to see that, that's in our Consider the Source exhibition. But back to the airport, where we're standing. So over the years, the airport has grown in operation until it finally became just way too risky to have that airfield next to developing neighborhoods and businesses with small planes landing and taking off on a regular basis. So in 1963, the town of Manassas purchased 268 acres of land to build a new modern airport, and that's where I'm standing today. And that's the airport that you're familiar with. After a year of construction, the Manassas Municipal Airport opened on September 20th, 1964. It was a very modern facility. It boasted one runway, one beacon to guide pilots in for landing. There was no air traffic control tower, just a beacon, one office for staff, one maintenance hangar, and then hangars for 30 planes. So that's what they could handle out here then, and that was state-of-the-art and very advanced. So since that opening date in 1964, the airport has expanded numerous times. More land has been purchased, more buildings have been built. And so if you're out here, you'll notice that this is a general aviation center. There's all types of businesses out here that relate to aviation and to the airport itself. The most interesting thing that they ever did out here, in my opinion, was in 1992, when the city of Manassas purchased an air traffic control tower from an airport in Denver, Colorado that it wasn't using, disassembled it and had it brought here, and they reassembled it here to use as an air traffic control tower. So that was the first attempt ever to recycle an air traffic control tower, and it worked. So that's what we're using here today. Now, if you visit the airport and you go inside, there's a little exhibit that we did in partnership with the airport staff many years ago to celebrate their 100th anniversary. It's located in a small area just off the doors that lead to the outside. It's a panel exhibition that has all of the information I just shared with you, as well as other photos and lots of other neat information about the history of the airport. And you also have a great view of planes as they taxi and take off and land, so you can stand there and watch planes. So there you have it, a brief history of Manassas and planes. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit different than what we've normally done. Now, you will not be seeing me next week. I'm not going to do a presentation. Instead, we're going to be offering an interesting Stories of Preservation in Progress live at 3 p.m. next Wednesday. So if you tune in at that time, you'll see local resident Melissa Webb. All right, here we go. It's a plane. You'll see local resident Melissa Webb talk about how she cleaned hundreds of headstones at the Manassas City Cemetery with a team of volunteers, and they did it all by hand. I'll return in September, so we'll see you then.